G'day all, Ben here, East West. Another great week for uranium. Sorry, my video is a little bit late this week. I've been away on a little bit of a vacation. 4 weeks in a row, important, right? So tremendous rally, tremendous price gains. We are going very strongly. So now we're just going to have a look and lay a bit of a roadmap as to what I think will happen in the next week or two. Okay, so URA just starting out here on a weekly. So, great week, and what's caught my eye here, especially with this Ichimoku setup, is that the candle had an entire week where the body is opened above the cloud, stayed above the cloud, closed above the cloud. So we had the tail, but this is now looking like a great bullish setup. The other thing that looks pretty good here is I just wandered my eye backwards is the Chiku span, which is the lagging span. It's currently in the candles, but what we want to see is just this lagging span get on the other side of the candles. Because what that means is that the price here has come up and defeated recent peaks. Okay, so that getting on the outside of the candles, then you would hope that this Chiku span is supported by the candles. Okay, so what we've got developing here looks pretty good. And that's when we're thinking about, what's going to happen down the track here into next year. So this looks pretty good. We just want this gap closed, and this will continue to happen, of course. We just want the gap closed between the Tenkan-sen and the Kaijin-sen, and as we mentioned last week, ultimately we want what's called a TK cross, where it's effectively just the Ichimoku version of a major crossover. Okay, so once that happens, that will just confirm the bullish posture that the market has now got in the last few weeks. So I thought that maybe it'd take a little bit more time before the market could come up and rise through the top of the cloud, but that hasn't proven to be the case. So you have your ideas, and as the market does what it does, you just change your ideas to meet that market. So I'm just looking at this now, thinking, okay, this looks pretty good, bullish. In the medium to long term here, for sure. Short term, maybe a question mark that we come back to correct. It's always an important part of the recipe, the correction. But certainly we've had 4 very nice, strong up weeks in a row. So just looking at this on a daily, and it's quite interesting because obviously this becomes the point of interest. If I can just grab this tool, this becomes the point of interest. Okay, and that's pretty obvious, but just when you go back and piece this together the way it's looking, this is a really interesting area for me technically. So I would just be going, okay, well look, I'm looking at this as potentially some sort of wave 1, this very sharp and deep pullback as a wave 2. That means naturally my eye is drawn to this, okay, and it's a little bit shy of that, but just because this is the exact area doesn't mean that that's exactly where the market has to stop. It just has a propensity to gravitate towards this area before it pauses again. So just very roughly, you might be thinking sort of 1, 2, and then we come out to make a third before we go 4, 5, and the progression continues on. But what's then becomes interesting is the internals. So I was looking at this, this is a very shallow pullback, but, shallow pullbacks in strong markets, that's kind of, it goes hand in hand. But if we're just looking at this now, we could see that there is potential. This is 1, 2, 3, this is 4. It's coming up to make the 5th wave internally of this wave 3, which would bring it up into here. We'll have to wait and see. But what's interesting, right, so this is the length of wave 1. If you bring it off here, 100% of that, it lines up almost exactly with that peak. So that's where I'm kind of thinking, yeah, this is kind of going together quite nicely as an impulse. So I can live with something like this developing. And we just come up here and just rest at this peak while we gather ourselves. I'm not saying that the correction's over by a long shot. Sorry, the rally's over by a long shot. But, I'm just looking at this as the potential area for the next correction, and really we've barely paused here. I mean, these corrections are tiny, so look, maybe we just get another tiny one like that and we go up to get the 5th wave. It's definitely not impossible. We just have to wait and see. I mean, we just draw up a roadmap of expectation, and then we just wait and see what the market does. If it adheres to what we're thinking, then great. If it doesn't, then we just change our view. Just a little bit, but that would be, I would suggest that my idea would be that if we got up here, and I think we will, I think this looks pretty imminent to get up there. The idea would just be that the actual correction, the wave 4 style correction, might just go on a little bit longer than what these did. Okay, so it might balance a little bit more in time to sort of what this bid, but I wouldn't expect anything near as sharp as that. I'd be expecting something sideways for maybe a week or two before we gathered and made another push higher, which would, you know, maybe take us up to this all-time high before we paused again. Or we could just pop through. Don't know. I mean, the market's got some tremendous momentum behind it now. So, you know, that would be the general idea of what I'd be expecting. Okay, but I'm just waiting for this correction to unfold. If it does indeed, I mean, look, I don't know. This could, look, very easily this could happen. Very easily it could just do this, right? And I don't know if that mucks it up. I'd just be moving this back here. But what I'm saying is that, you know, that definitely, I mean, this wave 3 could be way higher. We just don't know where the market's going to go. I mean, only the Uber bulls, perma bulls know where it's going. That could happen for sure. No question about it. Like I said, the market's got tremendous momentum behind it, but that's just not the way that I'm looking at it. I'm just thinking something more like this looks a little bit more likely, just in my opinion. Now, I don't think that this run's quite over. Okay, the reason being, I'm just leaning into historical statistics a little bit here. So this says 3. When the next week's bar opens, this will click over to 4 to show that we've had 4 weeks in a row. Now, we've had 4 weeks in a row up 9 times. Okay, and this is going back to, I'm only going back to count since the start of 2020. Okay, so just as the market, because I don't know, a lot of this stuff, I don't know how relevant it is to us. I mean, we could go back, but I'm just thinking about, you know, how prices developed since the COVID low. 9 times we've been up 4 weeks in a row, and of those 9 times, over half, okay, so 5 times out of the 9 basically, we've been up for a 5th week. Okay, so the odds are that we do have a higher week next week. Okay, and what I mean is that higher in so much as this is where the market closed, okay, here, and that next week's close will be a little bit higher than this. So the market closed $30.32. There's a better than even chance historically that we close above that next week, but we might only just close above it. What I'm suggesting is we could be close to running out of steam and getting ready for that correction. Now, just flipping over to CCJ, doing the same thing. Look, take some of these with a grain of salt, okay? But I'm just looking here, right? So we've had 4 weeks up in a row. In CCJ, that's happened 12 times since 2020, okay? 8 times we've been down the next week. 4 times we've been up the next week. The good news is, if we do have another up week, which would make 5 up weeks in a row, that's happened 5 times, and 4 out of those 5 times we've had another up week. So that would be 6 in a row. So what I'm saying is that this next week, this 5th week of upness, looks like statistically the important one. So what I'm sort of looking at is thinking, okay, well, look, the combination of the statistics getting to those important areas, the market does look like it's close to maybe just pausing this incredible run. Not ending it. I'm not for a second suggesting that it's going to do that. What I'm saying is it might just do this for a little while before it then goes on a little bit further. So we were looking at CCJ, and these were the bearish gaps that were left, and they're all filled in. So we've seen that there are no gaps in that regard left in the market, and these ones now look, well, especially this one looks very unlikely to be filled in. This one looks well, that's a long way back, and now, hey, look, never say never. We could come back and do that, no doubt about it. But it looks, the way this is propelled up now, it looks pretty unlikely. It looks more likely to come up and break the top than it does to come down and fill the gap. But word of warning, we look at this RSI and it is starting to get really, really warm up here, okay? Now, that doesn't mean, like, let's just put the rule over it historically. So this is where we're at. Now, it's like here, okay? So if we go back and just look at what happened here, when it didn't mean that the market crapped out, but what it meant is that we had this really good run up here, and as the market got to here, okay, it diverged and it just corrected. It didn't mean that it was all over. It just meant that it just chopped around a bit before it found its feet and started going again. So that's why I'm just on the lookout for something similar to happen here, okay? Then maybe we just come up and do this and just tag this top and then just correct. That doesn't mean that it's going to crap out. It just means that it comes back, shakes a bit out, just finds its feet, just digest the rally, because this is incredibly steep. Digest the rally before it kicks on again. So if we were just going to Elliott that up a little bit, that 1, 2, 3 up here. So maybe this won't quite go this way. Maybe it'll just kind of have to widen that out. Maybe it'll do something like that. Maybe it kicks a little bit above this, but if this comes into 4, this becomes some sort of 5. Maybe the 5th is a little bit higher. I don't know. Maybe it shapes up a little bit more like that. Okay, we just start getting choppy. We have a spiking top that diverges here, and then we just correct a little bit back down. And that correction might only be very, very minor. Okay, we may not get back 50% of wherever we get to. I mean, this is all sort of crystal ball stuff, but I'm just looking at this now, just looking at the RSI, thinking, okay, are we getting close to just topping out here for a minute, catching our breath, and then into 2025, really starting to have to go back, put the big picture together, and think about where we might be able to get to. Okay, because right now, I believe this is in US dollars. If we just switch to Canadian, I believe a lot of the brokers' fair value price targets are around here. So we would need to see some serious revision of the brokers. Now, the thing is, if it gets up here, the brokers will start revising. But how high does it go? Well, I don't know. I'd suggest the answer is higher than most people think, but not as high as the perma bulls think. It'll be something like that. But, all the ingredients are here now. So I was talking about the building blocks. This is the building block, okay? That's the first part of the building block. That's the first movement. Then we want to see the 3 ways back. Then we want to see the process repeated again. Okay, and what that looks like on a bigger picture is this, and that's what we want. So this is shaping up the way we want it. Okay, it's just happening a little bit quicker than what I thought. But hey, I've just got to do what the market's going to do. Even just finishing off here with URNM, look, this is, now that we've well and truly broken away from this downtrend, okay, so, that looks good. I'd leave this here just because, eventually at some stage, this is still a pretty good rally. It doesn't look like it's over. I think it's got another kick in it yet, maybe even up to there. But whatever, I think the longer this goes on, as this trails down, the retest of this starts to look less likely. Look, it's not impossible, of course, but it's just looking less likely as price continues to develop. And I don't think that this particular movement, so, pardon me, let's just grab this back. So what I'm saying is, this to this, I'm not sure if that was a double bottom. We should just double check that. No, this was a fresh low. So we can only take a true Elliott wave count. And this forms up pretty well, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and this looks like it's going to go up to make 5. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Part of the reason here is, this was a nice 50%, or 50% almost exactly. Okay, so that was the very nice 50% sharp retracement. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about. So we had the run, the sharp retracement, and the extension. The generalized target for this extension, okay, would be here. All right, so we haven't even made this yet, but I think we will next week. I think we'll tap into this area. Obviously, it's not very far away, but then I'm thinking, okay, well, just look at what we got here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'd be expecting 5. Maybe that's how it pans out. Okay, so we don't know what's going to happen through here, of course, but we just make a plan and go, okay, well, this looks pretty good, and so maybe we can target in here. That looks like the top. So maybe that's, and maybe the go is that when everyone sits down for their families with Thanksgiving, they'll be like, you got to get into uranium. But you'd be looking for whatever correction came off this to reload or get in. That's where I'd be advising. Well, look, I wouldn't advise, but that's just what I would be looking for. But there is a danger to waiting for retracements. And the danger of waiting for retracements is the market may not retrace. And sometimes it just doesn't. It just keeps going without you. Okay, and you've got to come up with a new plan. But look, I think that's where we sit. So I think the takeaway is we're definitely running hot. I think we've got a little bit more upside into next week. But I am expecting just at least a correction in terms of time sometime soon. So maybe next week. But I think those statistics show if we don't get a down week next week, it looks like it's going to be on again. So let us just see what happens. Look, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.